Hi, this is TJR.
And this is Robert Kinsler.
And so we're here to talk about something that, it's funny, until it came out, I didn't even know it was being released.
Wow.
And it shocks me because I'm a huge Beatles fan.
Right.
And I had no idea this was coming out. Now, Beatles 1, many people may remember it was originally released
In 2000.
2000, yeah.
Right.
And it was just their #1 hits.
Right.
Collection of their #1 hits.
Either that were #1 hits in the US or in the UK.
Yeah, a collection of #1 hits. So basically, a greatest hits package.
Right.
To me, this never held much interest to me because I had all the albums.
Right, exactly.
Why am I going to buy a set of #1 hits? It just doesn't make any sense for me.
Exactly. When you have all the recordings.
Yeah, I ignored it. Now, then you told me this was coming out. It's come out in a number of configurations.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the configuration I have here, and like you said, I didn't do enough research ahead of time. It has the 21 #1 songs, and then it has videos for those same songs. But there's several other versions of this, either on Blu-ray or DVD, where it has an additional, and I can check my notes in a minute, but I think like 23 additional songs. Like I think it has some
on
versions
video.
of Rain.
Okay.
Yeah, with that second disc. And the exciting thing about this, though, even this version here, is that Giles Martin and Sam O'Kill actually went back to the master tapes and remixed these songs, which hasn't previously been done other than for the Love Show, right, soundtrack,
Yeah,
right?
and I want to make this clear to anybody that may not understand this. That in the past, what's been done is remasterings, except for the Love Show, because that was a complete mashup.
Right, mashup.
But
that George Martin did with his son Giles Martin.
Yeah, these weren't just remastered; they were remixed. Usually, when an album is re-released, they're not remixed; they're just remastered.
Remastered, right?
Which is the original mix, just remastered to improve and enhance the original, the original mix of the album. Here, these are the tracks, not mashups like in Love. But these are the original tracks, but now completely remixed and remastered.
And I don't think that's been done.
No,
ever. And the clarity of the recordings, it is impressive. I mean, if you have this and enjoy it, there's nothing wrong with this. He sounds good. But for the audiophile out there and the Beatles aficionado, you're going to want these newly enhanced versions because they do sound significantly better. And then in the case here, where you have the DVD and the Blu-ray, those they've remixed in Dolby Digital 5.1 surround sound. So then you really get an amazing audio experience on those as well, because those are new remixes.
Now here's the thing. Actually, and it just occurred to me, there was a high-quality surround sound remastering. I don't know if it was remixing, but
For
remastering
Yellow Submarine.
For Yellow Submarine.
That's right. I do recall that now.
Not the original album release, but the songs from the movie released as a soundtrack. The actual songs from the movie.
That's what I had forgotten that. That's correct.
And yeah, those were very spectacular. And I remembered when the 2009 remasters were done, there were a lot of people saying, why did they just for the stereo mix? I remember we covered the mono mix.
Exactly.
Because it was very different. And we kind of, the stereo mixes, there wasn't, they were remastered, but a lot of people were saying, why aren't they being remixed for surround sound, Dolby, 3D? Why aren't we doing this now? We've shown what it sounds like on the Yellow Submarine release, the soundtrack release album, or I think they called it the songbook album version.
Yeah.
Because there is an actual official, the Yellow Submarine, the album is officially part of the catalog. But we're talking about the release that had all the songs from the movie. And only that, not the George Martin score, which is on the actual original album release. And a lot of people were saying, why didn't they do this? And some people didn't want to buy the stereo releases for that reason. They went with the mono mix because
and that's exactly what I did. Because of the cost and based in part on what you told me, you said, hey, they haven't been fully remixed or anything. Maybe perhaps wait. And what they've done here and they're calling this 1+. It's kind of like the term I've seen used for this. Here you see why I think fans want the albums all, and Giles Martin is a natural guy to do it. He's proven with Love and now with this that he's more than capable of retaining the magic and what made the warmth of those recordings so timeless and eternal. And you don't lose any of that here, but there is enhanced audio that you do pick up on, especially if you're as familiar with these recordings as most of the fans are.
Now you've heard this, I haven't. my initial reaction when after I first heard about it was a certain amount of cynicism, because it's only been about 6 years since the 2009 remasters.
Right, exactly.
Now, even if I did eventually pick up the stereo albums one at a time separately, slowly, but even then, and I still felt the stereo remasters of 2009 were a big improvement over the original stereo releases, but it had been, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of around 20 years. You know, prior to the 2009 release, the last time the Beatles were released on CD was during the Reagan years.
Yeah, yeah.
And it had been a good 20 years since that had done. Enough technology had improved that it was certainly worthwhile to re-release the Beatles catalog. It was, and of course, it was released very affordably.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And
much more than probably back in the 80s.
And the packaging was also made expanded, gave you a lot more than what was originally there. The expanded packaging was very nice. I still love the mono box set because it lets you hear it in a completely different way.
Different way, yeah.
But I was a little cynical. It was like, it's only been 6 years. You know, I thought to myself before talking to you, you know, is this just a cash grab?
Yeah.
Is this really?
And that question has been asked by a lot of people, and I would say no. I would say if you're a casual fan, and I know people, they're just everything in music. I mean, they're just casual music listeners. They're not as nearly as passionate probably as our audience. And
this original release is probably all they want.
And that's all they're going to need. They're going to pop that in. They're listening to it. And they're doing whatever around the house. They're driving down the road. That's going to sound fine.
They just want to hear the hits.
But if you really want to, you know, like for my part, you know, just like some of Ringo's playing, like as a kid, I don't ever remember Ringo's drums a lot. Many times they were kind of buried in the mixes. They were primitive or whatever. Yeah. You hear every member of the Beatles. You hear Paul's bass parts really pronounced here. You can hear everything, and it's really it's magical, really, for someone that's been listening to him for so many years.
Now, I thought when I listened to not only the mono box set, but also when I did listen to the stereo releases, that you could definitely hear. I think if any two people were buried in the in even the original CD releases, in most of the mixes, it was always Paul's bass and Ringo's drums.
Yeah, exactly.
They were the guitars and keys.
Exactly.
And I thought they did a lot to bring those out in the 2009 mixes. Are you saying they brought it out more?
Well, I don't have the stereo one, and the mono mixes are fantastic too. I'm just saying when I compared this here, and there's nothing, like I said, there's nothing wrong with this, but as opposed to the One Plus that just came out, to me, it is noticeably different. There's just more clarity, the way things are separated, where, like I said, it doesn't sound like they're fudging with the mixes or anything. They're just bringing everything out, and just like you said, the technology today, it can pick up on capturing all those different elements, all the ranges that, you know, from the very lows to the highs, with clarity and separation, and it just sounds fantastic. I mean, kind of like for anyone that has gone to Las Vegas and gone to that theater and seen Love live, and the way that you hear that Beatles music, and it just floors you. Just how amazing.
They actually built a special sound system just for that, for the audience.
And I've been to that twice, and that's the thing. As great as it is, and the athleticism of the performers and stuff. What most impresses me, obviously being a Beatles fanatic, is just to hear that music in that way. And this really does get you really close. You know, depending on the the level of your sound system that you have, this really is getting you there. What Giles Martin and like I said, Sam O'Kell have done, I think, is just really spectacular.
Okay.
You know.
So would you say you'd say a real strong night and day difference?
I would say night and day might be too strong, but I would say it definitely ups the ante here.
Morning to afternoon?
Yeah, morning to afternoon might be a way to say it. But it's significant enough where I would say reinvest in it. I'm sure, like I said, you can part with it. Maybe you donate your previous version to maybe a casual listener, maybe somebody that doesn't, and maybe then they'll fall in love with the Beatles. But this new version, I think if you're a fan, it is worth the investment. And like I said, the music videos too, some of these clips have not been seen for many years. I know when I was in my teens, I used to go to Beatle Fest out in Los Angeles and stuff, and I would see some of these kind of mythical music videos and stuff like that for Paperback Writer and stuff like that, kind of like what they did with with Help and Hard Day's Night, where you see the videos within those films, they can, as the Beatles stopped performing live, or to reach different audiences, they would create these films.
Yeah.
You know, mini movies, I think is what they'd call them, and those would be distributed, and those have all been painstakingly restored. The colors, the clarity on those is equal to what they've done with the sound, and it's just, it blows you away. It's like they look like they were shot on high definition video, you know, last week. You know, not 50 years ago. They just look and sound wonderful, these videos.
Yeah, now the video part of it does intrigue me here, because when I look at the list of songs here, I mean, I had seen, of course, like the video for Penny Lane,
Right, that
and
one.
the video for Strawberry Fields.
Right, that one's made the rounds. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen those, and I didn't know that there were this many more videos.
Yeah, but most people haven't seen the video for Paperback Writer. They've just not seen it.
Huh.
You know, and some of the and like where they're you know, like All You Need Is Love, that legendary performance where you see Mick Jagger in the studio with them and stuff. But they've never looked as good. Like I said, I've seen them on the original film when I've been at some of these conventions and stuff. I'm telling you, what they've done to restore these, you know, because I remember as a kid sometimes you'd watch these and they just didn't sound that good.
Yeah.
You know, they look and sound fantastic now, and it's not an exaggeration to say that this is as exciting as probably any Beatles fan could hope for.
Okay. Now, and of course, this version here has one CD and one DVD.
Right.
There's a one CD and two DVD version.
Right, that has the additional tracks on it.
Okay. And then there's a Blu-ray version, which is just Blu-ray and the CD.
Audio CD,
yeah, because the
probably.
Blu-ray can hold all those videos
Yeah.
that a DVD can't.
And like I said, those have on the visual presentations, whether it's DVD or Blu-ray, those have the 5.1 digital surround sound. And that one, I put this in my 5.1 surround system. It sounds fantastic. I mean, it's just, again, they've done it sounds like they've done custom mixes of those as well, and remixes, and those really stand out.
Wow.
You know, to go with it. So I'd say, if nothing else, but you know, if you're on the fence, I'll loan you mine. Then you can watch it. Then you can see what all the hoopla is all about.
I'd like to hear it. Yeah, I really want to see what the difference is. The videos intrigue me.
Yeah.
Though I know the Blu-ray version is very expensive. It's going to cost you roughly close to $60 to get. That's a lot for a Blu-ray and a CD, in my opinion.
And many people have invested, and they they're saying they maybe have got the mono version or the stereo versions, and I know that's a question Beatles fans ask. Like, you know, I've already purchased these albums, you know, these collections several times.
Yeah.
Why do I have to keep purchasing them over and over again? And I understand money's, you know, it's tough and everything, and people have a right to ask that.
It reminds me of that scene in Men from Black with Will Smith when he says, "Great, now I got to buy the White Album again." And you know, and I'm kind of wondering now, is this just the beginning of, you know, if they've remixed the tracks here, done a complete remixing and remastering?
Are we
going to see the catalog come out again in a year or two?
Yeah.
The entire catalog released at once, released a little bit at a time. You know, so I'm curious to hear the audio to see how great it is. Of course, I own both the stereo set and the mono set, and I think they both offer great experiences, different experiences.
Yeah.
And I do believe the stereo remasters of 2009 were an improvement from the remasters of the late 80s when they first came out. I do believe they're a great improvement. And of course, the mono mixes offer you something totally different, because in many cases they were mixed completely differently. In many cases they feature, like Help features a completely different vocal take from the stereo version. Certain effects got washed out in the stereo versions that are in the mono versions. Sometimes the differences are subtle, sometimes they're really extreme. You know, Helter Skelter in the mono version doesn't have the "I got blisters on my fingers" section, which is why I prefer the stereo version better.
It's one so iconic.
But like the version of "She's Leaving Home" in mono, to me, is more beautiful than the stereo version. If you can imagine that. But of course, we've both talked about that already. So I guess I need to hear this. I'm curious about the video. And we'll just have to see. But you're saying
I'm sold on it.
You're giving a big thumbs up. So that tells me a lot right now. That maybe I should check this out, and not be so cynical. And so we hope that this.
And I'd love to see what the viewers think too.
Yeah,
I'd love to get their
yeah.
hear their thoughts on it, see what they think, because I know, so, you know, when it comes to the Beatles, I mean, there's no shortage of opinions about the releases, about the albums, everybody's favorite albums, the mixes, all that stuff. But I think most fans seem to have agreed with Love, with the Yellow Submarine. I think people are supportive of preserving this album, their music, doing whatever you can to make it sound as great as it does, and also make sure that the technology that this music is, you know, preserved and passed on for future generations too.
Okay. So if any of you out there have listened to this or watched the videos and listened to the audio and have compared it to the 2009 remasters, we'd really like to get your opinions. What do you say, yes or no? And what do you think if in fact they start re-releasing the entire catalog and doing the same thing with the audio quality? You know, would you pick it up based on what you've heard so far? Yeah, what would you pick it up again? Be curious to know what you think. So thanks so much for sharing this. I'm going to look forward to now to sampling some of this.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd like to hear it on your sound system here. And we want to thank you so much for watching and sharing the show on social media. And please subscribe if you haven't. And until next time, I'm TJR.
And I'm Robert Kinsler.
We'll see you soon.
See you later, everybody.
Bye.